Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Miami Book Hub. I'm your host, J. Adrian Betancourt, urban planner by day, author, and explorer of all things by night. So thanks for coming back for another episode. This is now episode 22 of the Miami Book Hub, Miami's home for readers, writers, and resources. So 22 episodes in, and I finally get to somebody who I've been wanting to have on this program for a long time. I met him. We're both fellow members of the South Florida Writers Association. I met him several months ago, and I'm so happy to finally have Joe Pinon on the program. Joe,
hey,
welcome.
Thank you so much.
And from the moment I landed at the South Florida Writers Association, everyone told me, "Hey, have you met Joe? Do you know Joe? Do you know of Joe's books? Have you had Joe on the program? You need to have him on the program." I'm like, "Who is this Joe guy?" But I've recently learned why everyone makes such a big deal about you, because you are a prolific writer. You have written, I don't even know if you know how many books at this point.
10.
10 books and counting.
Yeah, and counting. 2 more on the way.
And incredibly, you've done that in less than 2 years.
That's right. Yeah.
It took me 3 years to get to my first.
Yeah.
So that's really impressive. But even more impressive than your books is your background. So we'll get into that. But Joe, let's start here. First of all, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
You served in the military during Vietnam, I believe a Marine.
As a Marine, yes. Marine platoon sergeant.
Thank you, sir, for that. And through, let's start there and take us on a trajectory before we get to the books. Let's talk about your career path, because you have a fascinating resume.
Yeah, I made a lot of changes in my careers. I began as a Marine, obviously. I graduated with a degree in biology, minor in astronomy. And I became I joined the Marines, went to Vietnam, spent a tour in Vietnam. And when I came out, I became a police officer in Miami Beach for 14 years directly. And then I was promoted to assistant city manager in charge of the police and fire and other departments. And I spent there another 8 years. And when I left, I went to the city of Miami as the senior assistant city manager. The same thing. And I was there for about a year until there was a change in the political climate. And
yeah, that sounds like Miami.
Yeah, it sounds like Miami. It was
the
fight between Carollo and Suarez and all of that.
Hey, it's still happening.
Yeah, it still occurs. And then I applied for the director of Homeland Security. And about 385 people participated in that, and I got the job
For Miami, right?
For Miami-Dade. Yeah, the entire county, and that lasted for about a year. Because of budget cuts, they did away with the Department of Homeland Security. They felt it was more a federal job than a local, and then I began with another company with members of the Secret Service, CIA, FBI, an intelligence gathering company, Encuesta Corporation. At one time, then I went. I was president of the Pedro Pan group.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Are you Pedro Pan?
Yes, of course. Yeah, I came in 1961, October 3rd.
Wow! You need to add that to your bio. That's I have such admiration for Pedro Pan, and
a lot of us have done well. A lot of us have gone through a lot of trials and tribulations because we came alone, no parents. Yeah. And so one of the dinners. On my table was Senator Martinez,
also Pedro Pan,
who was senator at the time, and he knew about me because of my presidency as Pedro Pan. He's also a Pedro Pan, right. And when they spoke about me at the podium, when I went back to the table, he says, "Joe, why don't you go to the State Department? We need people like you to go to Iraq and express, and do what we have to do there to fix that situation." Well, I thought about it, and my wife wasn't too happy about it. Going to Iraq? No. Yeah. But, there was a religious thing. I opened the book, the Bible, as my priest said, search for God to give you guidance. And I happened to open it on Genesis, where it had the story of Joseph, and my name appeared in that Bible. Wow. Even my priest didn't know about that. Pinon, as one of the tribes of Israel. Yes. So when I saw that, I said, "Look, I'm being called." And my wife, very religious, said, "Well, It's open.
She couldn't argue with God.
No. She could never argue with God. So I went to Iraq, and I was there for a year, and then they asked me to remain another year because I was doing so well. I went to 7 different cities to try to promote democracy and to try and change the system to where more women were involved in business and in politics. And
did you know Arabic, or was this all?
I learned quite a bit at the State Department, yes. But I had a full-time person, assigned to me to translate, obviously, and all the customs, which are very different.
Yes, of course.
So I made sure that I didn't offend anyone. And I thought it was very successful. We were able to get women to be involved in politics and to run for office and win. Yeah. Got them a lot of different jobs. I did a training on typewriting and on marketing and teaching. Became school teachers, which mostly were men. They were only allowed to teach at the elementary level, not beyond that. We were able to change some of those rules. And so it was fascinating what I did there. I enjoyed it very, very thoroughly. At the end of the second year, we began to pull out our troops. And I was attached to 101st Airborne unit that was protecting me all the time. And then after that, the 82nd Airborne came in, and some Marine units as well. So I came back home, and I did some training for police. Went back with Encuesta Corporation to do some things that we did in Colombia and in the Dominican Republic.
Which, if you told me about, you had to kill me. Right?
Yes, I can't talk about those things. So anyway, we did get involved with a lot of different things, and finally, a year and a half ago, a year and a half ago or so, I began to think about all the things that I had done. And I began to talk to some of my veteran members. I was also commander of the VFW and the American Legion. A lot of them had told me stories, and a lot of them had suffered a lot, with PTSD, with all kinds of diseases that were really caused by the war itself, because marijuana was introduced, drugs, alcohol. As you know, in the military, alcohol was very cheap. It was 25 cents a beer. And hard liquor was 50 cents. And they gave you free smokes. So you have free cigarettes. So everyone became a smoker. I didn't. I never smoked in my life. I was not a drinker either. So I kind of survived that era. But I found one of my friends in Vietnam, an Army sergeant helicopter chopper, who drove me to different locations with my squad. And I found him homeless in Miami Beach. Okay. And actually, I was a cop at the time, and I responded to a call of a fight in a bar. And when I went there was this guy that I knew. Of course, he had a beard, but I could never miss him because he was 6'3", and his face was very, very different. So I kind of grabbed him, and I saved him from hitting somebody with a chair. Turns out he tells me he lived across from the VFW post that was on West Avenue. So I offered to drive him there. And when I dropped him off, as I was leaving, I saw he was going in back of the VFW. Kind of strange, because it was late at night. It was like 11. So I turned around, and he's living in a box in the back of the VFW. That was, to me, was a traumatic experience. I said, his name was Al Lewis, by the way, Sergeant Al Lewis.
So tragic. And
I pulled him out of there, and I put him in a hotel. A friend of mine owned a hotel. I told him the story. He said, hey, bring him in. The guy was amazing. He's an amazing carpenter. I got him a job at a local wharf where he did all kinds of work. Got him out of there. And he's one that told me, Joe, you got to write stories. You got to write what you've been through. So I didn't, because I was a cop then. I did all my other stuff.
Right.
And it was just about a year and a half ago that I found a big box in my
your attic?
In the attic. And I had letters from Vietnam. I had pictures. I had everything. So I started pulling it out, and I said, "Oh, I want to write a book about this."
Wow.
And that's how I
So
started.
he had planted that seed all those years ago.
That's right.
And then it took a while to take root.
It took a while.
But
Yeah, it was that box.
It
that
happens when it's meant to.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And so that was your first book, and that's sitting there at the table. What was that called?
Yeah, it's called The Path of Heroes is Paved in Blood.
Okay.
Because a lot of my friends died while I survived.
And so that one is based on Vietnam, right?
That's based on Vietnam, yeah.
Now, is that a fiction, historical fiction, nonfiction?
It's a combination because a lot of it is stories that I learned from my peers, from my friends in the VFW, and a lot of my own experience. And then I talk a lot about the different things that affect you when you're in war. It's not just the enemy. It's the diseases. It's the weather.
Yeah.
It's the loneliness.
Sure.
It's the, all kinds of things that affect you.
Yeah, not just physical, but psychological.
That's right. So all of that is in there, plus all the weapons that we use that nobody really talks about. I have read some books on Vietnam, but never on a personal level like this.
Right.
At the end of the book, I talk about the racial strife that occurred in Vietnam between blacks and whites. I was very close to my black brothers, and they called me Soul Man because I dance a lot, and I had a band when I was a young man, and most of my songs were, rock and roll, but also from the 60s. And so my nickname was Soul Man on the radio.
You're a soul
man. Yeah. So I wrote about that, and it's in the book, and all the things that they felt. Why would they be fighting in Vietnam if they go back home and be in the situation they were under, the civil situation that we had? So that was it, and it was a very, very good experience. But I was 19 years old. So I never thought of writing. I never thought of any of the other things. But luckily, because of all my notebook, I saved a lot of pictures that I took. The letters that I sent home, my mother saved them all. All of that came back to me.
Yeah.
And even when I was in the police department, I never talked about my Vietnam experience. It just wasn't there, I didn't want to talk, actually.
Painful, yeah.
Yeah. And what happens is when you suffer PTSD, you don't know it.
Yeah.
And none of this came back to me until I left the department. The feelings that I had, when you had to shoot people close hand,
Can't even
So
imagine.
those things come back to you when you're facing the age where your death is also coming. We're not going to live forever. And I did go through 3 cancers.
Wow.
So every time I thought about I'm done tomorrow, I want to be visiting the man upstairs. But he wasn't ready for me.
Yeah.
He kept me alive, and I'm still here, and I'm cancer-free now. I just came from my oncologist, who said, "Hey, Joe, you're totally, cured so far."
Congratulations.
So yeah,
I think maybe God has a plan for you, huh? He's keeping you alive so you could keep writing books and sharing those stories and healing through them.
Yeah.
So one of the things that has been a common thread through all the authors I've had on here is how the books, some of them touch on weightier topics than others, and many times books help to heal or provide therapy to those who are reading it. But what I find is it's also very therapeutic to the author.
Absolutely.
Especially something as powerful as a memoir about Vietnam.
Absolutely.
So,
and
did
Iraq.
you feel in Iraq and all
Iraq,
your experience?
because those people were really desperate for something, and we came there to help, and they received it very well. I got to tell you.
Did you find that in writing the book, it helped to heal some things?
Absolutely, absolutely has. Yeah.
And it must have left a positive impression, because then you kept writing and writing and writing and writing.
Yeah.
I have to ask, how do you write so prolifically in such a short period of time? It seems like a supernatural skill set.
Well, I just sit there for hours and hours and just write whatever comes back in my head,
Is that me?
Oh, no.
Apologize.
That's a ring.
Yeah.
So, then I switched the subjects to Kyle Hunter, a detective.
Yeah, so you have a series. How many books?
8 books now.
8 books.
Yeah.
I love a series. I'm writing one myself. So what was the inspiration behind Kyle Hunter, and And then why a series versus kind of a one-off?
Because it just kept coming.
Yeah.
I wrote the first one not thinking there'll be a second. But a lot of friends read it and said, Joe, this is fantastic, and you should do more.
So who's Kyle Hunter?
Huh?
Who is
Kyle Hunter is a made-up name, obviously, but it's based on a lot of the stuff that I had read, you know. Most of the cases are real cases. I changed names and stuff because, you know, it, like the one about the werewolf. One of the people say, there's no werewolf. Well, there was one in Chicago, and I wrote about him. You know, this individual who thought he was the werewolf, and he was never caught. But I continue now. My latest book is where he reappears.
Oh.
So, and about UFOs, because it's such a current event, I have seen things also that I could not explain. And I have seen a lot of the programs that we had talked about before where there is a lot of information out there that we really don't know. And even Marco Rubio, our senator, has gone online saying that, you know, there's something there. We just don't know what. So I became more involved with that. And so the series, Hunter becomes a hunter of a killer who follows another killer.
Is he a detective?
He's a detective, a Chicago detective who becomes a private investigator in New York, and then who becomes an Interpol agent when he's recruited.
Okay.
And so that's the series that has gone on so far.
It sounds interesting, and it's thrillers are so much fun. Is it purely I would say, serious take on it, or do you have fun with it like many Miami mystery, or I don't know what you call them, many Miami writers that are reverent Carl Hiaasen type of take on this, or is it a fairly kind of serious take?
Well, serious. It is serious because I do believe in UFOs.
I'm just saying in general, do you insert humor into your writing, or is it generally just kind of you stick to?
No, I insert myself in my writings. Yeah. I use a lot of what I know, what I have read about, my own experience as a detective. I was Officer of the Year in Miami Beach and Detective of the Year in the state of Florida. I also was Officer of the Month for 12 times. So I had a lot of arrests, a lot of experience with criminals. I went to the FBI Academy 3 times to learn about profiling, to learn about terrorist groups and things like that, which I used when I became a member of the Inquester Corporation under the president, who was Jack Island, a former FBI agent. And so we did a lot of work in that respect.
So why Chicago and not Miami?
Only because I ran into a Chicago detective in one of my trips that told me about the werewolf.
Okay, so that's where you started.
I started researching that. And so I had one of my buddies in the police department whose name was Hunker. I didn't want to make him the guy, so I made it Hunter.
There you go.
Hunter for the hunt.
Yeah, I like that.
Of the killer. So that became catchy, and everybody loved it. I did a focus group with 25 members of my post, and they loved it and said, you got to keep writing this. So I wasn't planning to, and then I did. And like you saw, I mean, I get on my computer and start typing.
And series are very popular right now, and many of them turn into film adaptations, TV. Do you have any plans or desire, or are you in talks to turn some of this into?
Yes. I'm hoping that Netflix will pick up Hunter. Yeah. Because being a series, I think that would be very feasible. I'm talking to some people now to see if that becomes a reality.
Oh, how cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a whole different world, right?
A whole different world.
Now, you've also written something called the Shikalawi, the Black Scorpion. And so that's slightly different than these books.
Yeah. He came after actually, he came before my Iraq book, because he's a guy that I met. He was with me a lot. He was a sheikh of one of the big tribes. And he told me a lot of stories. He knew a little bit of English. And with my translator, I was able to get a lot of his stories. He goes back thousands of years with his family. So he told me a lot of them, a lot of the stories. And so I said, this is a good character for me. And he did tell me a story about a scorpion that bit his great-great-great-grandfather, who became then a very well-known warrior. And so based on that, I wrote the book. And he's a real character. I mean, Alawi is a real character, but of course everything is based on the past.
Yeah, historical fiction.
Historical pictures, that stories that he told me about. And that became also very, very well read. People loved it. It's a love story. He gets married 3 times, and all 3 wives died. And at the end, when he passes away, he finds he's got 2 sons. So that's the end of the book. It's a love story, romance, but also a lot of fights and and thrills in it. So
now, all your books, I mean, obviously your Kyle Hunter series as a collection, have a lot of common elements, but that is very different than your Vietnam book, which is very different from your Shikalawi book.
Totally.
Are there any kind of common threads throughout them? Is there like a message that you're trying to convey to the world that kind of carries through?
Basically, if I could really be honest about it, I want people to know about the world out there. My Vietnam experience shows a lot about what we went through. People don't know that. A lot of people don't know that.
Here.
Yeah, and when I looked at some of the books from Vietnam, they were all based on something totally different than what I had. It was just killing or this or that, and I mixed it all. I wanted the public to know what we faced, not only with the enemy, but with all the different things. When I went to Iraq, I wanted people to know what we did in Iraq. People don't know. And I tell you why I say they don't know, because I've asked. I asked so many people in my posts and in my friends and my family. Nobody knew what we did there. And I wanted to show all the good things that we did. And I'm still in touch with a lot of the mayors. One of them just sent me an email 2 weeks ago. He's in London. He wanted to visit here and wanted to see me. And of course, I invited him. And then on the Alawi, because of the criminal thing, I teach a lot about what a detective does. If you read in the beginning of the book, I show a lot of the different forensics that we use, the interview processes that we use to get people to tell the truth. And so that's really my goal, is to let people know what we do. And that's basically...
Yeah, at the heart of it is you want to educate people.
I want to educate people. In every one of my books you're going to learn something. That has been told to me. Joe, I had no idea about what a detective did or how he did his thing. The way you explained it in the book is really fascinating. And that's what I really want to do.
I asked earlier about why Chicago and not Miami, but does Miami appear in any of your books? Like, how does Miami impact your story?
Well, Miami does appear in one of the books, in that Hunter hooks up with a friend of mine. But, well, anyway, his name is Hector Lance. I mention it because the book is based on not on him, but on his character. He's a Chinese Cuban American. Okay. And, he's asked, he solves a crime in New York. He's a detective in New York about a Cuban delegate who's killed. And he solves it. And so Miami has another Cuban delegate that is killed. And they ask him to come to Miami and do that.
Is that the Beijing
yes, Havana conundrum?
Okay.
Correct, yeah. So he comes to Miami, he solves the crime, and then now Cuba wants to invite him to come because he solved 2 crimes connected to their delegates. and he finds out that the chief of intelligence in Cuba is related to him. His name is Lance as well. And then while he's in Cuba, he finds out that another cousin of his is a chief of intelligence in China, in Beijing, named Wang. And so they invite him to go to China, and there he solves another murder of a Chinese official. So that becomes a connection between Havana. And while he's in Havana, he learns that China and Havana are plotting to infiltrate the United States, and
may not be far from the truth.
Exactly. And I did it before all of these things came up now about China and Cuba and all of that stuff. So that became a fascinating topic a lot of people enjoyed.
So many books. If somebody wants to explore your work, where should they start?
Well, my website is joepinon.com. Also in Amazon. Amazon.com, you look for my name, Joseph Pinon Books or Joe Pinon Books. They will all appear there. In bookstores as well, it's shown.
Is there, if they had to pick one book to start with, which one would you recommend?
Well, I would say to start with my first book, the Vietnam book. It talks a lot about me, talks a lot about what we did there, and then progress to, if you like a novel, a romantic novel, then Alawi would be the one. Every lady that I have talked about that book said they loved it because it's a romantic book. It's not about war. It's not about these other things. But you know, it has great reviews also from women for the one in Iraq, because so much in that book is about how we helped the women of Iraq develop.
Right.
So that has a lot of attention as well.
And finally, I'm sure you're working on something else, because you know the person who writes 10 books in 2 years is probably already working on 2 or 3 others. So what are you working on now?
Well, 2 have to do with Hunter. I have one already in, and it's going to be published within the next couple of weeks. Okay. And the other one I just finished, which will be sent to the publisher. And the one I'm working on is, I met a young lady who came from Nicaragua, went through the struggle of the traffic going through all the countries and then making it to Miami. I mean, to the border. She told me a lot of stories, and I'm basing that book on that. Wow. And I also wrote a poetry book with 152 poems.
Wow. So on top of everything else,
yeah,
you're also a prolific
poet. I love poetry.
Poet.
I love poetry.
And last question, because I think we're even over time. Where does this writing, where did you learn to write? Like, it's just something that's always come naturally to you? Have you studied it?
I wrote a lot of reports.
Yeah, I
in the city.
I understand.
In the city, especially, I wrote a lot of reports, and also as part of my investigations. You know, every time I made an arrest, I had to write a report, so I had to develop, you know, the facts.
Well, you never, you know, took a creative writing. So
no, never have done that.
Here.
No, it just comes through.
Excellent. Well, listen, you're a fascinating guy. I can relate to you in some ways as a public servant.
Yeah.
And as someone who studied foreign service. I never did make it to the State Department. Maybe that's in my future. But I think you're fascinating, and also just a great guy. And I've learned a lot of things that I didn't know about, which make me like you even more. So
thank you. The same here.
Thank you for all the great things you've done.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for appearing on the program.
You're welcome.
JoePinon.com, folks. JoePinon.com. You could also learn more about me and what I've been up to with this podcast and my own book at 3treasurespress.com. Just updated the website, so it's pretty cool. Check it out. I want to thank you for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, share the program. And I want to thank Miami's community newspapers for producing the program. Thanks, guys. That is all the time we have, so I'm going to stop here. We'll see you next time. And in the meantime, keep reading, keep writing, and stay curious, Miami.